This is the Steve Gruber Show.
It is, and I'm glad to be kicking off another brand new day here at the Steve Gruber Show, right in the shadow of Detroit, here in the heart of America, in the Rust Belt, where real things are learned every day, not someplace like New York and D.C. All right, fighting for you for the foxhole of freedom. Who do you want in your foxhole? Always an important question. A lot of work to do today. Let's start with the big three things you need to know. Number one, the stock market set all new record highs Monday with President Trump working new trade deals in Asia and the meeting with Dictator Xi coming up in a couple of days. Number two, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo closing the gap on the communist Mam-dani in the run to be the next mayor of New York City. We'll see if that turns out the right way. Number three, we're entering day 28 of the government shutdown for 500,000 government workers. That means they've missed their first full paycheck again. Now, we're going to get into this, but I'm going to give you a heads up. Donald Trump is going to be meeting with Japanese business leaders here shortly. If he shows up, we're going to give you a live feed of that here on the stream. And if he talks, we'll go to him directly. But first, that first full missed paycheck. It is the Schumer shutdown. Democrats refusing to open the government over a clean continuing resolution, something they've always supported before. Speaker Mike Johnson says it's ridiculous how stubborn the left wing of Congress is acting at the expense of the entire nation. Here he is.
See, they've made an evaluation that they have to appease the Marxist base, that they're so concerned that they'll lose their jobs if they don't appease the far left in their party. And they sat in a back room and they made the calculation that they would rather shut the government down and impose all this pain on the American people because they believe the Marxists, the far left in the base, are more active than hardworking Americans, people who go vote. And so they made the calculation that it's worth it to them. Every day gets better for us. We'll use the pain as leverage. For what? To prove to the far left base that they won't give in, that they'll fight Trump and fight the Republicans. What are they fighting? It's a clean CR. It's the same level of funding that they have voted for as recently as earlier this year. They are Biden-level policies and spending. This is not some Republican wish list. We don't have any of our priorities in this at all. It's the Democrats' own product. But they have decided to flip the script this time because they were getting too much heat from the far left.
Here's the fact. We are being held hostage by the far left in this country. Like Johnson says, not even for anything we want. Then I say we because this affects all of us. It affects the families who won't receive any SNAP benefits next month. 15% of Americans on SNAP, maybe that's a bigger problem. And whether or not you think we should cut the bloat in food assistance programs, some people really do need the help. They do. It affects the food we eat. The FDA is responsible for quality and safety, and they've got thousands of people furloughed right now. It affects the flight you want to take. We're already seeing massive delays at some airports, but most of all, it's causing very tangible suffering for the million or so workers who are going without, even while some of them show up to work, because if they don't, they would lose their jobs. Now's as good a time as any to remind everyone that while air traffic controllers are showing up without pay, members of Congress, well, they're sitting on their asses, delivering sound bites while they collect their paychecks without pause. Nice, right? I've got an idea. How about while the government is shut down, none of us pay taxes? That'll get them to a solution real fast, I'd bet. And I know I pointed it out yesterday, but it's worth repeating. The Democrats just view all this suffering as a tool for furthering their agenda. Democrat Chuck Schumer told a reporter that every day the shutdown is better for Democrats. It's better for us, he said. And when asked about that asinine comment, he just doubled down on the belief that it makes his party look better. Here he is.
Mr. Leader, can you just talk to us about your comments last week in an interview where you said every day gets better for us because Republicans have seized on that? Can you explain what you meant?
Look, every day more and more Americans see how bad this health crisis is as they get their notices, as they hear all about it, and every day they are seeing more and more that Democrats are on their side fighting for what they believe in.
Yeah, and it gets worse. House Minority Whip Democrat Katherine Clark called the suffering of millions of Americans leverage. I know you've heard this before, but it's worth replaying again. Here she is.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
Families will suffer, but it's one of the few leverage times we have leverage over ordinary folks. Who's looking out for you? Democrats really just revealing themselves to be the villain in all of this, aren't they? Let's take a look at that leverage, shall we? Here's a few workers who are going without today as this rolls on. Listen to this.
My husband and myself are both controllers and both completely rely on the government being funded to be able to provide for our 3 children. I'll need to reschedule a surgery I've been waiting since March of this year to do.
As a single dad with 2 kids, I do live paycheck to paycheck.
How am I going to pay for groceries for my family? How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to pay my mortgage to keep a roof over my family's head? How am I going to pay for childcare for people to watch my kids?
My wife and I had our first child 4 months ago. I had to start doing like other colleagues, doing DoorDash and Uber Eats and Amazon Flex, just to make sure I had some income at the end of the month to buy groceries, diapers, and wipes.
I've had to pick up a second job just to make sure that we're able to make ends meet.
How long can we survive until we have to pick up a second job on top of working 6 days a week, unpaid?
Yeah, unpaid. These are the stories the press should be elevating, not their petty complaints over a ballroom renovation. Of course, some of the most heart-wrenching stories come from those who have been forced to turn to food banks, which, by the way, is a testament of the resilience of American charity work, by the way. It's important, painful, but important. Listen.
We're going to have enough for everybody. They're sending another truck.
With the government shutdown entering week 4 and no end in sight.
Just give her 2 boxes and a pizza.
For federal workers, the paychecks have stopped, but they still have families to feed.
You good? I hope it helps you.
The Capital Area Food Bank is now doing food giveaways for federal workers. Here at this site in Hyattsville, many folks asked that we not show their faces, but told us times have been tough.
It's not fair that the federal government employees and military members are being used as pawns in whatever this is.
And that's exactly what these workers have been turned into. Pawns. It's not a game that anyone wants to play except apparently the Democrat politicians. How about this mom who's having to hide her despair from her own daughter? Listen to this.
Federal workers waiting in long lines at this food bank in southern Maryland.
I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been in this position to have to go to a food bank.
Denise Blake says she drove over an hour to get here. When she finally arrived, they had run out of food.
We have a cart ready for you out front.
Fortunately, she did not leave empty-handed, but she still faces the harsh reality of not knowing how she's going to feed her family while she's not getting paid during the government shutdown.
I don't want my daughter to see me crying.
Yeah. I think the point has been made. These people are getting pay stubs with a fat 0 on them. Many of them will still having to show up to work or lose the job they do have, while Democrats continue to stonewall on behalf of illegal aliens who want free health care and the left-wing faction of the party who care more about power than what happens to these Americans. And that's sad. All right, we're continuing to watch to see if President Trump comes out in Tokyo to announce an F-150 plant and other deals. Good morning. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, let's be clear. All right, shall we? We are every day on this program, but so let's continue that trend of being clear. This is just another attack, this government shutdown, on America First priorities, because at the end of the day, what President Trump is fighting for is better health care for American citizens by cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse the Democrats want to protect every single day. Listen.
The Democrats should just do a simple extension. That's the best way. The Democrats are holding it up. They want $1.5 trillion for people that came out of prisons, for illegal aliens that come into our country. We don't want to do that because that will really hurt the health care that we have in our country. And frankly, we'd like to see better health care, period. We're not looking to do that. The Democrats can solve that problem with air traffic control. All they have to do is say, the country's open. We only need 5 votes. The Republicans are with us. We only need 5 votes. So let's see what happens. I would imagine that gets taken care of. Not only the controllers, but other people too.
All right, there's President Trump on Air Force One giving comments. Now he has entered the room in Tokyo. Howard Lutnick has stepped to the microphone. Let's see if we can hear what Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, has to say about some new deals.
So I'm sorry I left you down. I didn't get to 500 billion. I came a little short, but we'll get there. Anyway, so these deals are driven by the Japanese Strategic Investment Initiative, which was created by your tariff policy and by your historic trade agreement with Japan. So that was the underlying reason that we were able to get all these deals done today. So the commitments ensure the economic and national security of the United States of America. We're going to be developing energy. We're going to be developing nuclear, semiconductors, and strengthening the entire domestic supply chain. So I'd like to kick it off, right? And the first company I'd like to announce is Westinghouse, which will invest up to $100 billion in nuclear reactors to restore U.S. energy dominance. And we have the co-signer is Bruce Flatt, who's the chairman and CEO of Brookfield Asset Management. So come on up. There you go. You can hold it with the president.
$100 billion in nuclear
We're starting
development.
with the big deals. Then we have GE Vernova, also $100 billion by using nuclear, the construction of SMRs, and also large-scale power equipment such as gas turbines, steam turbines, and generators. And we have Scott Strazik, CEO of GE Vernova. Next, we have Bechtel is doing up to $25 billion in construction and engineering services to build these large-scale power all across the United States of America. And Brendan Bechtel, please come on up.
You're watching Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick announce some very important deals here in Tokyo. President Trump, they're watching all this. $100 billion from Westinghouse for nuclear development. This is coming to you live from Tokyo. $100 billion from GE Vernova for power infrastructure. Bechtel, tens of billions of dollars. Here's another one.
Next up is Kiewit, also $25 billion in engineering, procurement, and construction services. Thomas Shelby, come on up, the group president.
You're just watching live the feed from Tokyo as we continue to bring you this live coverage of Donald Trump's visit to Tokyo. A lot of major deals being announced. I've frozen out here. I'm not sure what's happening here. I'm not hearing the feed anymore. I need a little bit of direction from the control room. Guys?
I think we're back now.
All right, there we go. We had a little bit of a hiccup in the feed. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to keep an eye on this. When President Trump steps to the microphone, we'll get back to this as we see one deal after another. $100 billion, $100 billion, $50 billion, $25 billion. Remarkable amount of funding coming in. As President Trump is making his trip through Asia, making deal after deal, there's some idea that there might be an F-150 plant or dealership of some sort put into Tokyo. That would be remarkable. F-150s from Ford Motor Company being sold directly in Tokyo would be another remarkable part of this deal as the president continues to make these deals. But the two first announced there from Westinghouse for nuclear development and GE Vernova, both $100 billion. That's for infrastructure development to power America. We need a lot of power in this country to make it all work as we go into this AI revolution. So Donald Trump is in Tokyo. The feed a little bit sketchy here today. That's just the way it works this morning. The technology just a little bit hiccupy today. I apologize for that. But you can see it's one deal after another And it's pretty impressive, actually. Now, we're going to take a break here in a moment. When President Trump steps to the microphone, we will have that for you because we want to hear what his comments are. And then in 2 days, he meets with Xi Jinping of China. A lot of hope there for soybean sales. Not necessary, really, because new markets have opened in Japan, where they agreed to $550 billion in soybean purchases, and biodiesel. But, of course, if China comes along and it works, it will be helpful. This comes the day after the market's at all-time records on the Dow, 47,500. Whoever thought you'd see the day? If you're a retiree, it's been a pretty good couple of days. We'll take a quick break here. When President Trump gets to the microphone, we will have it live here. Don't go anywhere.
Now we have Kinder Morgan.